looks like maybe Brit versus Russia.
British versus Russia. Alright. The recorder is running, which is good, which means all of our pre-game meta talk will indeed be included in the VOD. That is hopefully what will happen. But Goongoon, trying to pick French there. Maybe he's more comfortable with French, who knows. But he ultimately can't. He is indeed already won with them, so he can't use French and has decided to use British, which actually we think may be a stronger civ on this map due to, the copious amounts of animals. You're literally drowning in bison meat on this map. There's a lot of hunting, therefore civilizations like British that, like to play that turtley style are better. They certainly...
But maybe more importantly, the fact that there are no trading posts on this map makes civs that oftentimes maybe are kind of okay, like something like Germany that kind of thrives with TPs and like does good where there's high hunt and has a TP, maybe aren't as good on this map.
Yeah, there's that.
Because, Brits are always going to mana boom, right? There's always the option to mana boom. Same with Japan. You can always shrine boom. You don't need to rely on TPs.
Yeah.
Which makes it a little bit better.
There's that. But Boneng, picking Russia here. What do you think of this civilization choice? It's I wouldn't say any better nor worse here. They're not a civilization that relies on trading posts either.
Russia's really flexible. They can play lots of different styles. I like Russia. I like this matchup. I think this is a very balanced matchup on a very balanced map. I think we're going to be in a pretty good position for a pretty good game.
Yeah, I like this. I like this matchup. It's sort of like, in a way, that French versus Japan. In the sense that, Japan and British are both civilizations that like to turtle. They like to enjoy their mana boom and create lots of settlers. And, Russia can rush. They've got certainly the shipments for it. Nice 5 and 4 Cossack shipment, a 13 Strelot shipment as well. Definitely very good. But, he's looking here to sort of push into his opponent and do some, sort of early damage in the colonial age where the British player is a bit more vulnerable. And it's always the British player looking to perhaps, get into the late game. If he can survive through it and hold it, it's always very interesting to watch that struggle. Then he starts to, come out on top and the economy really kicks in. And this is a kind of matchup that really builds up to that one moment, which I think is super exciting.
Yeah, really what this matchup can kind of come down to is Russia does one thing very well in that they have the best efficient trading units in the game. And when you think about like overkill and statistical stuff between units and how they interact with each other, the fact that Russia's units are cheap and do low amounts of damage and train a little bit faster is fairly significant in that against civs with strong units, like any civ with a strong units, they can trade very efficiently. And so as you consider like Brits who have very strong muskets the longer the game goes in Colonial, for example, with the 2 upgrade cards that they have, potentially advanced arsenal, stuff like that, it kind of becomes like this push and pull struggle between a civ that can make units really fast and trade very efficiently, trying to, in the most efficient manner, trade off his dirt cheap, not so good units, versus a civ who's trying to get to a point where he has a critical mass that he can just kind of like push out and kill everything with like a very upgraded army. And that's probably the struggle we'll likely see starting right from like the 5-minute mark on. I think we'll probably see Boneng do some sort of pressure build, but how he gets there and how he decides to actually apply that pressure is there's a couple ways you can go about doing it.
Yeah. Absolutely. But, in this early portion of the game, what do we see here? Both players, scouting the map, looking for some treasures that they might be able to pick up, and ultimately looking for cows. We see the British player here has opted actually to go with the market there, which is a discussion that we had another week where 2 manas, especially if you're expecting a rush, might be better.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna quickly reiterate the logic that you had, which was if you have... Obviously, you start with enough wood to construct either 2 manas or a mana and a market and hunting dogs. Now, in terms of efficiency, I think maybe hunting dogs is better the longer the game goes on, and it indeed gives you the option to get your market upgrades during transition, which is really smooth and really nice, and it's kind of clunky if you don't have that market for it. But the argument is if you go for 2 villages, that's better at the very start of the game. You've got 2 extra villages, whereas hunting dogs is you know, if you've got, you know, 15 villagers or whatever, it's only like 0.5 extra, whereas an extra house is an entire villager. But, you know, the market isn't very flexible in the sense that if you've got hunting dogs, that only benefits food gathering, whereas an extra villager you can retask to actually anything, and if you're being pressured, you might not, you know, you might need to collect something else, or you might not be able to collect hunt or something. But that is indeed what he's gone for here, that market.
And I do want to mention, although all of what you said is true, it was 100 gold start, meaning that he had to build the market and then bought 100 wood and then got hunting dogs as a result. So he actually didn't have the option to make 2 manors. It was 100 gold start.
So actually making the best.
Built the market, bought 100 food, and then got hunting dogs as a result. So, although all of what you did say on a 300 wood start is 100% accurate, just not quite the case here just because of the gold start. But we do see Boneng building a very forward blockhouse. And
it hasn't gone for a market or anything at all. Obviously, you don't do that often in if you're choosing to play aggressive. But again, as Russia, it's hard to do. You might miss your batch of units. Go ahead, Zuta.
This is Boneng's going with a very aggressive style. 11-ville Egypt.
Wow. Okay.
The traditional Egypt counts that we usually see with Russia are 14 and 17. Boneng opting for a 11 villager Egypt. Of course, because they do train villagers in batches of 3, you kind of have to pick.
11,
at which
14,
point there's no like 15-ville Egypt or 13-ville Egypt, like one village earlier. It's like you either do 11, 14, or 17.
It's very awkward.
Yeah, and so he's electing for probably the most aggressive of those options. And we'll have to see. I mean, Goongoon realizes he's going to be against some pressure, placing that outpost in a very defensive position. And here comes Australia. It looks like we're just going to see Boneng applying some pressure right off the bat.
They're going to come in.
13 Australia as well. Wow, just crazy amounts of Australia.
Wow, okay. So he's got, at this point, 23 Strele. They're going to come in and just try and just force these villagers off the... I mean, they're not like a group of 10 Strelis isn't actually that good. They're not going to kill that many villagers there. It's hard to focus them down. But now these here, he might be able to snipe villagers off in a single volley. But they're ultimately pushing them inside the town centre. They can't collect any resources. And more importantly here, this stable, or whatever military building, no matter what it is, like if there's units just in your base, how are you going to get that up? 700 wood on the floor, you can't collect that up either.
And another thing that I do want to mention is with the Strele and this early pressure compared to the Musk, with the Strele, you do have to remember that with these 2 firing buildings, they're going to be taking less damage collectively, and your volume of units is going to remain higher for longer, just because there's more of them, and so the efficiency of the outpost in the town center gets slightly hindered just because there's so many units.
Like 90 damage it does. 90 damage is way overkill on a single Strelet. Yeah.
Well, in fact, it's actually a little bit underkill. We can see that it does like.
Oh, yeah. There's the range resistance.
Resistance.
Yeah, I wasn't taking that into account.
Actually leaves them with like 9 HP, which makes it really awkward.
Because then you have to shoot them twice, and since they're so low, I mean, it would still 2-shot a musketeer, right, or an expensive French musketeer, or whatever. You know, ones that aren't weaker than Russian musketeers. But Strelet's still taking 2 hits. This is pretty good. This reminds me of a build that Mr. Milo back in the day did, where you actually don't train any villagers. You just go up with 11 vills and just stick units in your opponent's base and not let them do anything. You don't let them create villages. You don't let them build a military building. These crates on the floor, 700 wood, 700 coin, and his starting coin from the tower that he got, just not. But, you know, ultimately that build, I think, kind of fell out of the meta because it's so weak, because you don't train villagers. Yeah.
But this is some crazy pressure coming out of Boneng.
Wow.
He's really ramping up the pressure here, and this is going to be difficult to deal with. I mean, his hunts are slowly creeping away. His gold mine is really far forward. If you take a look at where his silver mine is, it's going to be difficult for him to even get enough gold to make some cav to deal with this. We can see that he did ship 700 coin as a response to having really no availability to his silver mine, but I don't even know if he's going to be able to get out of his base to be able to gather that. really. I mean, it's going to be really difficult.
Look at the score. Like, Boneng falling behind because he's just losing all of his units because of the town centre fire and the outpost, and it's just not efficient to stand there. But at the same time, his opponent not being able to collect resources, it's...
Oh.
What are we looking at down? Oh, what?
Those cav got so close to
finding
those
them.
villagers have been gathering over here at the Pronghorn graveyard for a long time. And,
he could build a wall on either side of that little thing and wall the villagers in. That'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, and then he would just have like 5 pronghorns. So he could definitely have...
They're going back
he
there.
could even include the silver mine in his wall, and you just have like a little fortress. I would laugh. Yeah, I hope he does.
That would be genuinely quite funny. Yeah, yeah, but Russia's score is always lower than usual anyway, because they train everything in like their villagers train in batches of 3. Their units always have to be trained in batches of 5. Well, infantry that is, and because of that, you've got all these resources in queue. It knocks the score down quite a lot, and it does the score doesn't go back up again until the units are actually physically on the field. So. There's that. You might not be as far behind in score as I'm sort of making out here, but so many crates on the floor. 700 food now, which he is actually able to pick up. I feel at this point, though, British economy... Oh, villagers actually escaping there. Anyway, I feel as if at this point... 5 cav, first batch of units out. I feel as if the British economy is still better than Boneng, and Boneng hasn't really made any headway in massing, because he has just sat everything in his opponent's base.
There's so many crates on the floor as well. I mean, he's got 5 cav out now. With the crates that he has available, he's going to be able to get at least another 5 cav.
Yeah.
And this is going to be very, very difficult for Boneng from this point forward.
Has Boneng really actually done any damage, or has he just stalled his opponent?
Yeah, he's done
resources?
some damage. He's kept the villager count low. The amount of gather time these villagers have had has been very low. He's really made it so that the British player can't herd whatsoever, meaning that now that he is back outside of his base, he's gathering in a very awkward spot. But all of that said, I don't know if it's really enough to justify the insane amount of pressure that he's trying to put on.
It just this engagement here, losing those 5 cav there. Ooh, not too good. A British player, I think, wants to stack up his units. So, actually, though, 4 Hussar will beat those 5 weaker Russian musketeers. In terms of efficiency, it's not so good. But if those extra musketeers in the back there can catch up, actually get a nice, okay, so both players sort of trading units there. Anyway, yeah, it just feels like the British player, it's been more than, certainly some damage has been done, but it feels as if he's just delayed, or he's not actually massed up any units as a Russian player, and has actually just delayed the British player from getting his units out. But now they're all starting to come out now that he's
well, he doesn't have any more military shipments to really supplement what he has here. I mean, he went 13 Strele, 5 cav, 4 cav, and so there's not going to be any big burst, any big swing coming back around, which is going to make it, I think, very difficult. And I think Goongoon's to the point where he's stabilized at this point.
Yeah, I suppose those, the military shipments are what allows you to keep going and keep putting on. Yeah, and as you say, they're no longer coming out here. And the British player starting to actually gain the lead, I think. Starting to have enough units to siege down that blockhouse there. And you can see here that Boneng, using those 2 musketeers, there were more there earlier, to sort of come in and try and shoot down the blue musketeers whilst they're busy sieging down the blockhouse. But actually, Goongoon got some nice unit control there. And every time he sees red come back in, he's going to take the units off the blockhouse and attack, move on to the red ones. And not, ultimately, though, actually, Boneng doing a good job of keeping his blockhouse alive as long as he can. I do think it's going to go down, though. That's the problem there.
Yeah, it is
long enough to get some units out, though.
He's got another one built, though, here in the back, too.
Yeah. I don't... But
By
does
the way,
he...
can you hear, the insanely loud thing going on behind you? I have no idea what it is.
I can hear some sort of rumble in the background, but...
Is it really loud?
Well, I have you turned down, so you're actually a lot quieter to me than you will be to anyone else, so actually I can't hear it very well. I can hear you fine, though. It shouldn't be a problem.
Hopefully it's not too bad. I think someone's, out there, power cleaning the carpet or something.
Right in the middle of the Saturday Smackdown stream. You gotta shout out the window, bro. Tell them to put that stuff away.
It's been getting progressively louder as the half hour has gone by, so I think they've just been, working their way down the hall, and now it's, I think, right outside my door. So hopefully it's not too loud.
No, it's fine on my end, but I don't know about the stream. It should be okay. You sound great to me.
Alright, I mean, Boneng's not dead here. I thought he was dead, but he's really not. that dead, is he?
I just feel as if he doesn't like. Yeah, he's not dead. He's okay at the moment. He's certainly still got their economies are actually equal in terms of villages and in terms of units. Actually, well, British is ahead, which is not bad. I just feel as if Boneng doesn't want to be in this position. He really wanted to come out a bit better after all of that colonial pressure. I just think, you know, perhaps not doing as much damage as he needed to, and really, like, it looked like he was doing a lot with all of those units in his opponent's base, but he was just losing them to town centre fire, and you know, he aged up with 11 villages to make it happen, and that's quite a lot of idle time early on. Then that's, you know, less villages over the course of the game as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just awkward. I mean, we kind of mentioned at the start of the game what Russia was looking to do, and they were looking to leverage the mass of their army and the efficiency of the trading of their army to actually kill his opponent. And if we take a look at, like, what's happened, like, I mean, he's not ahead in mass at this point in the game. He's about equal maybe in eco, but certainly the biggest thing that he wants to be trying to leverage is just his mass advantage and his, like, efficiency and trading advantage. And I think Brit's got an army right now that is going to be, like, just really, really hard for him to kill.
Yeah.
And it's
in terms of population, he's definitely much further ahead in terms of military here. And I think his economy is really going to start to kick in at this point. I mean, he hasn't sent he hasn't, you know, bolstered it that much in terms of the shipments he's been sending. There's no 700 wood or 600 wood for, you know, mana production. He's mostly just been units, you know, shipments to help him hold the early aggression. But now 5 villages has just come out, and I'm sure we'll see those really efficient ways that British can boom follow it up. And at this point, he's got a nice standing army. I think that economy is really going to start to pull ahead now, and ultimately at this point in the game, Russia can't stop it. He had his chance.
I do want to
early on.
mention that Russia is aging right now. I just looked up and, like, saw that he had, like, so many resources.
Okay, perhaps that explains his lack of units then. We haven't been seeing...
I mean...
Those 4 cav going to chase him down.
It goes back to Boneng's playstyle, I guess, right? He just always wants to be aging and pushing a tech advantage.
It's not fun. I'm not in the, you know, the Imperial Age yet. I've got to...
Yeah. He's also got loads of villagers in his town center back at home that he's just not ungarrisoned.
Is this the right decision, though? I mean, Fortress Age is a great place to be, but I feel as if Russia, it's just really awkward. I mean,
Russia's Fortress play is not that good.
Yeah, they get up to Fortress and they're like, what now? I know, I'll just keep training the same units that I was making in Colonial. The only real benefit is cannons and shipments.
Yeah, 2 Falconets is really like the... I mean, Oprichniks obviously are very good, but he's not going to have a time to even get out 6 Oprichniks or
and
whatever.
Those units out of position here, going down, next to this coin mine at the top there, like, because he chose to go up to Fortress, he hasn't been massing, and the army that he did have was, kind of out of position. There's no other units, instead of training units to help them out, and that wouldn't have happened, he didn't do that, and the units he did have are gone. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to follow it up with the fact that, like, a lot of civs that like to age, like French and Germany, have a unit that they're aging for. Like, they have shadow teching units. They have units that upgrade automatically in the Fortress Age.
Yeah,
they have skirmishers that age up. They have, like, war wagons or dragoons, all sorts of, like, good, strong options in addition to, like, something like 2 Falconets or mercenary shipments. And Russia just doesn't have that. They have... in order to upgrade their units to be combat effective in the Fortress Age, they have to not only stop the production of units from their blockhouse, but then they have to dump resources into it as well. So it's kind of like the 2 things that make them good with, training units fast and fighting effectively kind of get wasted a bit in that sense. So
yeah, they don't like being... It's just ultimately they're not looking to go to Fortress, and if they're kind of forced into it because their opponent's gone up to Fortress and you kind of want to maintain the tech, they just don't like doing it because they don't really benefit that much.
Yeah, and I think we're just going to see Goongoon fight here. Here comes the Oprichniks. I guess that's what he was aging for to start with, but I mean, these Oprichniks are going to be forced to be used defensively against the Huss, which is obviously not something they're paper thin, right? They're just going to die.
They're not very good units in terms of actually fighting. Like, they're very strong at killing villagers. That's what they do, right? Yeah, and they're actually quite good against artillery, but...
That's correct.
But it's just, as cavalry, actually Cossacks are... and you compare it to, like, Lancers or Cuirassiers that, other civilizations have as a unique cavalry shipment. Oprichniks just don't do enough. I think here maybe what he was trying to do was rely on the fact that he knew he was quite far behind, and the only way to come back would be some sort of super outplay with the Prieshniks and just hope he can hold. Because if he played, you know, standard...
He knows where his opponent is gathering. I mean, he's got his scout up here. He's going to get a big villager kill, but...
That's going to be nice.
Might lose everything in the process.
Yeah. It's just that if you stay colonial, keep massing, try to compete with British, eventually you're going to lose, right? You can't stop that at the point in the game he got to. And he thought, well, actually, if, you know, it is risky to go up to Fortress. It's probably not going to win me the game. But if I do get these Appreciatics out and I do get some massive raid with them and get away with the Fortress Age, then I could get back into the game here. But ultimately, I don't think that's going to happen. We see the Appreciatics that might have been his salvation he was looking for.
He did kill quite a few. He did kill quite a few vills, though. I mean, he killed like 5 or 6 vills.
Yeah, he's brought the population. Look at that, 28 villages for Goongoon. Like the British player, the Boomer, who has indeed sent 500 wood, 5 villages. 500 wood, is that a shipment? No. He sent his 500 wood. And, wow, 5 villages, I said it again. Oh my god. And it's 600 wood, and it's been booming. He no longer has a settler lead. The Russian player is actually quite far ahead, and I think...
But it doesn't matter. Like, look at where Boneng's villagers are. I mean, they're completely useless. He doesn't have any resources together, doesn't have any army.
Manchu popping, okay. That's something. This could be what he needs to get back into it if he can trade efficiently here. Unfortunately, all those Strelets going down. The Manchu just slightly too late because he lost some of them. But Manchu, very effective against the cavalry. I'm surprised he's not kind of getting them out of the range of the Musketeers and indeed the Cavaliers, and because they can quite effectively. What a comeback though! Like he's not out yet. I wouldn't say it's a comeback, but actually he's definitely not out. Minutemen.
He has to win with these remaining 5 Manchu. If he doesn't win with these remaining 5 Manchu, though, he's in a really bad spot. I mean,
that guy's literally is he in your room now?
He doesn't really have anything else. But what does Goongoon have? There's not a lot of.
No.
I mean,
12 military pop.
He's really spread out. I guess he's trying to secure the northern side of the map now with that outpost, but. Yeah, these Manchu at least make things interesting.
Is that guy cleaning? Is he literally inside your room now?
Yeah, I'm gonna go see what he's doing. You fly solo here for a minute. I'm gonna see what he's doing.
Okay, that's Zuta having some problems. He's gonna shout at the window. Oh, I'm streaming. Get out of here. Saturday Smackdown is where it's at. Oh my goodness, that is pretty loud. But we will persevere, guys. We will. My ears are grinding. I've completely forgotten what I was going to say after all this. Yes, at this point, Russia actually managing to get a tech advantage. He's up to Fortress Age. He's gotten away with it and has managed to secure some sort of military, lead. He's ahead now in population, 28 military units, right, here compared to 10. Has somehow managed to gain, like, a unit advantage. And with that 6 Apprecianik play, he managed to take out loads of villagers. Like, he did lose all the Apprecianiks to Cav in the end, but not before he could kill, like, an absolute ton of villagers. And you can see at this point in the game, has a military lead, and has 37 villagers compared to the British, who is on 28. We can see here, British player starting to lay down lots of manners, as he has been all game. He is indeed up to, let's see how many manners he has, if we switch over to this tab. It doesn't say. That's, how many population is he on? He's on 120 population for wood, for manners. So, he's actually built quite a large portion of manners. He's still got a few left, so he's still got 8 villages worth of manners, or maybe 9 villages, because of course the town center counts as 10 pop. But he has been booming with those manners, and he's still actually behind in terms of villager count. Boneng, I think, making the right call with that Fortress Age. Perhaps that was indeed what he was looking for, just some sort of absolute outplay with the Apprecianiks, because, staying colonial, what are you going to do? I think even though Fortress would probably not have been the best, in terms of staying alive in the short term, it was more like the winning play, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he's in a really good spot. I mean, he's got a lot of resources as well that he can spend. He could dump that all into muskets and maybe make a killing blow here. I mean, really what ended up winning in the game was those Manchus.
That Manchu pop, that British guy was not expecting it, and his army...
I wasn't expecting it either.
No, I don't think anyone
I hadn't
would.
even considered it, to be honest.
It's something that they have in Fortress A. I guess you don't really associate Russia with going up to Fortress, but that's something they have. They can pop out military units, mercenary shipments. I wouldn't say Manchu are by any means the best mercenaries. They're no Mameluke, but they are indeed enough to pop him back in. All mercenary shipments have some element of super, like, swinging power ability.
Yeah, they're certainly strong.
Yeah.
Especially when you have, 15 Hussar fighting right underneath your town center.
Yeah.
They're exactly what you needed.
Oh, that was so good. Zuta, though, you have to tell us, what is this guy doing? Like,
so all right, so here's the lowdown. It is as I suspected. It is a guy power cleaning, and he has got. It was hilarious. He's wearing like this big sound blocking headset, and so I walk out on the office, and he's got his back turned to me. And he's like using this machine, and so I'm like trying to flag him down to ask him how long he's going to be, and he like can't hear me, and like so I tap him on the shoulder. And I ask him how long he's going to be, and he says, "Sorry, I can't hear you." And he has to like go power down his machine and like take off his headset, and then he says, "How can I help you?" or whatever. And I said, "Like, how long are you going to be?" Apparently, it's only going to be another 10 minutes, but we'll see.
Oh, he had to pick the right now, didn't he? Saturday Smackdown. He's just like, I know. ZutaZuta across the road is he's going to be streaming a weekly event. I'll do it right now. Anyway.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know what he's. The heartache he's causing. Hopefully it'll be done soon.
Yeah. But, at this point in the game, I am very, very impressed with what Boneng has managed to achieve here. That was some YOLO swag, I'm tempted to say Azamp style build. It's obviously not Azamp though, this is Boneng. Still, I think renowned as a fairly creative player, or maybe that's just because the meta in Japan is not familiar with, with us guys and he's influenced by that, of course. They're playing mostly with Japanese players. But anyway, that YOLO swag rush.
Age too. Boneng usually ages up. That's the difference.
Yeah. Anyway, YOLO swag rush not being ultimately that effective, or perhaps as effective as he wanted it to be, yet still coming out on top. Like, it just goes to show that Boneng makes really good decisions, and he's a top player for a reason.
Another thing that I do want to mention now is. This game has been kind of like cattywampus, but he's to the position that he originally wanted to be, right? He's ahead in army.
Yeah.
Usually, the Russian player wouldn't be ahead in like upgrades and villager count and economy and stuff like that as well. But he's essentially to the point where Russia wants to be, where they're ahead in the sense that they can leverage their trading ability against the strong units of the British player. If we take a look at the shipments that the British player sent, he's sent musket attack at this point.
That wood trickle's quite interesting for a British player.
Yeah, I guess that's just something like you could send like exotic hardwoods or something like that. That's usually I think what's. I think this is the deciding point.
Yeah, like you've just got musketeers. Yes, they're upgraded with the colonial age upgrade there, but you're fighting against someone who's managed to remass a similar amount of units to yours. But also they've shipped, Fortress Age, they've got, veterancy upgrades there. That's Fortress Age tech. Plus, the most important thing, the Falconets, which just absolutely annihilate all forms of infantry. It's difficult. And ultimately...
Maybe most importantly, like, the map is starting to run out, too. The longer this game goes... at some point he's got to think, like, I'm going to have to start transitioning to mills in order to be able to make units, and... Like, that's not something you really can afford to do either, so. That was,
I think we've just found the game that is topped. Do you remember that Highlander build, where Mito starts?
No, that game was still better.
Do you think in terms of...
To me, that game was still better.
I think that had hype to it. But this one, I think he is able to compete with it on terms of comeback of the year. We're going to review 2014 and think, these two games, this one in particular, was...
It was good. It was a huge comeback. I thought he had lost. Like, I was ready to... Although, let's be honest, like, Goongoon never really got out of his base, never got anything going, kind of was exposed the whole game. Like, it's not like it was... I feel like the other game was the game that you're referencing, the Night BR versus... Was it Night BR versus Mito?
It was.
Yeah, that game, I feel like the game was, like, even more over. And then, like, all of a sudden, like... There was like 20 mercenaries on the field, and like somehow Mito couldn't lose. But this game, this game was just like one very intelligent pop of Nine Manchus that I think should have been foreseeable. I mean, obviously he has to stockpile 1,000 gold. Should have been able to see that coming.
Yeah, I think we ought to have seen that. I have been removed by the host, apparently.
Yeah, because Boneng wasn't in.
Oh, right.
Just fixing the slot by the look of it.
I'm going to turn the recorder off now, so